Everyone, my name's Catherine and I'm the Scotland Conservation Officer for the Marine Conservation Society, and I'm absolutely delighted to have been asked by the Royal Scottish Geographical Society to give a shortened version of my Inspiring People's talks that I delivered earlier this year and last year to loads of the amazing local RSGS groups across Scotland. So the name of my talk is #StopThePlasticTide. And you'll see from my first slide here that there's a lot of hashtags and a lot of tags in there. And that's because I think, especially now more than ever, social media can help us stay connected to the ocean, stay connected to all the work that so many charities are doing to ensure that our oceans are protected. And then when we're all able to head outside again, we'll be able to take action to protect them and to recover them even further. So I hope you're all doing safe and well at home. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be covering a little bit about my journey and how I ended up being the Scotland Conservation Officer for MCS, a little bit about what we do as a charity, and some ideas for some things that you can do at home to be helping save our oceans from right here in your living room as well. So a little bit about me first. I'm actually originally from a small town called FRSGS up on the Moray coast. So you'll be able to see on the map here where I'm from, and my local beach was Findhorn, which is an absolutely stunning beach. And just behind the map you'll see a photo of me and some of my friends doing some beach combing at a beach a little bit further along the coast at Roseisle. So I've always had a really strong connection to our coasts and to our seas. And I think this is where I still draw on a lot of my ocean optimism. So I'm a huge fan of the ocean optimism movement, and it's all about ensuring when we're telling stories about the ocean and about the seas, we are inspiring people to help fall in love with the sea all over again. Because we can't expect people to stand up and take action to protect it if they don't actually even love it or care about it in the first place. So when I first put this talk together, I asked my mum and dad if they could maybe dig out some old fun photos of the times I spent on the beach when I was really young. And they had a great time, as you can imagine, pulling out some really good ones. So on the screen here, you'll see two of my favourites. They're actually both from beaches on the Isle of Arran, which is where my grandpa is actually from and grew up. So we had loads of amazing family holidays going to visit the beach there from when I was really little and donned my first pair of wellies. I've got my very jazzy wellies, a little bit bigger now, behind me for when I'm out doing beach cleans and rock pooling. And the other one is actually me of doing some rock pooling with my younger cousin as well. And it's all these memories that I think still feed my ocean optimism today and feed into all of the work and all of the enthusiasm I have for our fantastic seas. So something that you can all do at home right now is just actually have a think, and are you ocean optimistic? Do you have a favourite memory of the ocean, of a beach, whether it was just lovely beach walks, was it running into the sea for a swim and running out again very quickly because it was so cold, a favourite wildlife experience? All of these stories are so important to tell each other, to remind ourselves, and then to use social media or use those telephone calls when you're speaking to friends and family to reconnect to the ocean. So even if you don't have the beach on your doorstep, draw on those memories, create your own ocean optimism, and it's such an important first step to helping us conserve, recover and protect our wonderful marine environment. So fast forward a couple of years, I knew that I really wanted to work in marine conservation, but I have to admit I wasn't very good at my sciences, so I never studied biology. I studied chemistry and physics at school because my dad studied them, so I thought that would help out. Didn't quite work out that way though, but I instead looked outside of school. What could I do outside of school that would maybe help me get a career in marine conservation? So when I was old enough, my mum, bless her, then drove me through to Spey Bay, where there is the Scottish Dolphin Centre. And I actually volunteered there on Saturdays every month. And this was all about engaging the public in the wonderful population of bottlenose dolphins that are residents in the Moray Firth. And I very quickly, as you can see, got very attached to our dolphins. And one of my favourite facts that I'll always remember is that our dolphins in the Moray Firth are the fattest dolphins in the world, which I think is just absolutely amazing. These guys are huge, and they have to be because the waters up here are so cold. But it was there that I really enjoyed starting to learn how to engage with people, answer questions, some a little bit more daft than others. I still remember, I think one of my favourite ones was getting a phone call asking, are we allowed to go and swim with the dolphins? And I was like, it's the North Sea. Crack on, enjoy. But then there was others who were just fascinated to learn more and just didn't realise the amazing wildlife that we have right here on our doorstep. So if you've never seen them before, definitely check out WDC and the Scottish Dolphin Centre. There's a resident photographer, Charlie Phillips, who works for them, who takes stunning photos of them. So definitely have a look and check them out. And then if you're ever in the area, when it's safe and well to do so, definitely go and see if you can spot them. And again, all about creating those amazing ocean optimism memories. So just a little bit further along and down the coast is Aberdeen, and that's where I actually went to university. So you see here a picture of me on my graduation day with my mum and dad's old dog Mac the Spaniel. And my degree was in Marine and Coastal Resource Management. And if you got the latest Geographic journal, there was that amazing 100-year celebration of geography in Aberdeen. So you'll see the degree and the course coordinator David Green mentioned in a lot of those articles. And again, that really kind of just kept fueling my passion, increasing my knowledge in about what kind of work you can do in the marine environment. But as well as studying, I also developed another passion that helped me fall in love with the sea all over again, and that was scuba diving. So I joined the Aberdeen Students Sub-Aqua Club with BZAC and absolutely loved it. My very first dive was off Cove Harbour, just south of Aberdeen, and the visibility was about from here, not even to the camera. It was about here. Couldn't see a thing, but I still just loved the sensation of being able to breathe and be underneath the water. Of course, over the years since, I've had some spectacular dives. So this photo here is actually of Nig Bay, just in Aberdeen as well. But I've been across to Oban, up to Orkney, and actually even all over the world on different travels, have been able to dive and look at the amazing habitats and species that are underneath the waves. Again, all fueling my ocean optimism. And if there are any divers, any snorkelers out there, now is the time to dig out those photos, dig out those videos and share them. Really give people the opportunity, a window into the amazing underwater world that Scotland's seas have to offer. Now, anybody who's been to university or anybody who is a diver will know that it's not the cheapest way to live your life. So I knew I had to get a job when I was at university. So I actually worked as a part-time cast member for the Disney store. Now the picture that's on the screen here is actually when I got to go across to Dublin to help open up the new store there. So again, it was a fantastic experience getting to meet loads of new people. I am quite a big Disney fan as well. Behind the camera is quite an extensive Disney DVD collection. Of course, Finding Nemo is in there as one of the top options. But it was actually here that I kind of had my click moment, my penny drop moment. I absolutely loved what I was studying. I loved my diving, but I really enjoyed engaging people, young people, old people, anybody. So I was like, how can I bring these all together? So my first job actually after university was heading all the way down to Dorset to become a field studies instructor for PGL and start working in the world of environmental education. So on the screen here, you'll see a photo of me in my PGL uniform and some of my favourite photos from working along that spectacular stretch of Jurassic Coast. And we did everything from taking the little ones out rock pooling for the first time to the A-level students doing their coastal management studies. And I absolutely loved it. But it was quite a full-on job. You're pretty much working 24 hours a day. So about after a season and a half, Scotland was calling me home. And this is when I first got involved with the Marine Conservation Society. I actually signed up to be a Sea Champion volunteer, which I think is just an amazing name to be a volunteer, to be a Sea Champion. And this is where I got trained up in how to do school talks and how to do citizen science, which we'll come on to later on as well. So the photo in the middle of the screen you'll see is actually me volunteering with North Queensferry Primary School and doing one of my favourite education sessions that MCS does, and it's called Turtles in Trouble. So when I started at MCS, I discovered that we get leatherback turtles visiting Scotland every year to gobble up our jellyfish, which is absolutely incredible. And I don't think it matters what age you are, everybody always loves learning more about turtles. And the thing we always show the children is the underwater signal for turtle. If you're a diver, you'll know when we communicate under the water, we use different hand signals to communicate. And we have a different signal for different wildlife. So the turtle one is super easy. You just put both your hands out in front of you like this, one on top of the other, fingers and then leave your thumbs out and then roll your thumbs, and that's the underwater symbol for turtle. And I bet you, it doesn't matter how old you are, I bet you're all sat there at home being like, oh yeah, look, it's a little turtle. Link it all back to those ocean optimism stories. If you're going to be video chatting someone, if you're going to chat to somebody else who's in later on, show them the symbol for turtle and share a story or share something that you've learned today. It doesn't matter how old you are. Little things like this can really help get the message out there in an ocean optimistic way. So all of that volunteering and all of that experience, I was delighted to say, helped me then get actually a job with the Marine Conservation Society and become their Scotland Conservation Officer. And it was lovely to come full circle. So this picture on the screen here is of me back up at Findhorn in my MCS uniform with my parents' dogs, completing one of our big beach clean events, which I'll touch on later on as well. So a little bit about MCS as a charity. We are a UK-wide charity, and I work in our Scotland team, which is based out of our Edinburgh office, and it was set up by my manager Callum Duncan back in 2000. So we're actually celebrating our 20th birthday this year, which is very exciting, as well as it being Year of Coasts and Waters. So if there was ever a chance to learn more about Scotland's seas and see what you can do to help, this is the year to do it. As a charity, we kind of split our work into three main areas. The first one you'll see on the screen here is ocean recovery. So this is all about protecting and recovering all of our amazing species and underwater habitats through marine protected areas, making sure they're well managed and that everything is able to let the sea recover and to protect it for future generations. The other area of work is around sustainable seafood. So this is especially pertinent to any of us who enjoy fish and chips maybe on a Friday night. Our amazing fisheries and aquaculture team produced something called the Pocket Good Fish Guide. So as consumers, we can then actually find out the knowledge to be asking the right questions to make sure that the seafood we are buying, whether it was in the supermarket, at a fishmonger, in a restaurant, from a takeaway, that it is actually sustainable. So you can go to the website or you can actually download the Good Fish Guide app as well, which is really useful. And the team then also work with restaurants, chefs, businesses and government as well to be ensuring that our fisheries and our aquaculture industries here in the UK are as sustainable as they can be. And then the last area of work is the one that I'm most closely related to in Scotland, is our clean seas and beaches work. So the picture here is of me and my brother and my cousins on a Christmas day quite a few years ago out on the beautiful Isle of Barra in the Outer Hebrides. And this is Battersea Beach, and it just is always the image that comes to mind when I think about a clean beach. And this is the aim. This is what we want to see, is beaches free of pollution, free of litter, with good water quality for both people and for wildlife as well. So I'm going to talk about some of the work that we've been doing to then try and meet this objective, to have clean seas and beaches for everybody and for every animal. Now, marine litter has actually really skyrocketed up the agenda over the past couple of years, which is fantastic. And this has definitely been set off by the Blue Planet 2 effect and Sir David Attenborough, which was really bringing it all into our living rooms. So it does just show you the impact that storytelling can have. And I think this is what we can use this time for now, is if you have the time to be able to tell a story, share a memory, and it's amazing how that can get shared. And that is just the first step in helping achieve marine conservation for us all. So I probably don't have to spend too much time on it, but we know really that marine litter impacts our wildlife in two main ways. The first one is entanglement. So we're seeing animals, like you can see this bird in the picture here has got entangled in filament wire. We've got everything from that up to our big whales getting entangled in either big creel lines or fishing nets. And this then hampers their ability to swim, to fly, then they can't eat, they're maybe struggling to breathe or to breed as well. The other huge issue is ingestion, is then our animals are starting to actually ingest and eat the litter, which means sadly that their stomach is filling up with plastic and other litter items rather than their normal food source. So sadly we're seeing lots of animals then stranding because they've essentially starved to death because of the amount of litter that they've then consumed. So these are the two main issues, and this is why we're working so hard on marine litter and why you can all do something to help right here from your home as well to stop this plastic tide hitting our shores and impacting all of our wildlife. And it is the power of storytelling that has been so useful for us at MCS. So this next slide has got a couple of pictures from some of the media work that I've done as part of this job. Definitely an unexpected part of the role. So we've got everything from working with students up on the Angus coastline with STV. That is Plasticus the whale from Sky Ocean Rescue, so a big global news corporation like Sky taking on this issue and starting to promote it across their global news channels. Working with BBC Breakfast, that's me and Maddie from FIDRA, who work on nurdles, which are these tiny little plastic pellets that are also turning up on our beaches. A very early wake-up call for BBC Breakfast on Aberdeen Beach a couple of years ago. And then lastly, with Minister Mary Goujon, we work a lot with the Scottish Government from their communications channels to get messages out there as well as the important policy work, which we'll come on to later. And of course, you'll notice right in the middle is the RSGS logo. It's all of our partners and it's our friends and it's all of you at home that really can take that message where it needs to go. We need as many people aware of what's happening to our ocean. We need as many people as possible falling in love with our oceans again, so they can then help stand up and protect it when we're able to as well. So really, I cannot overestimate the power of storytelling, and you all can become storytellers right now. So one of the projects that actually is really useful in this storytelling is our Beach Watch project. So Beach Watch is our citizen science project. So I mentioned citizen science earlier on. And citizen science is this fantastic movement that anybody can become a scientist. So all of you at home can become scientists. So there's a brilliant one actually at the moment for helping nature and biodiversity. The RSPB are running the breakfast bird watch. So from 8 till 9 o'clock, you can look out your window and let them know on social media how many birds that you're spotting. And if you think you can do this for the minimum 20 minutes a week, head to BTO, the British Trust for Ornithology, and you can actually report your sightings there. And they're using that to then track all of our garden birds and our wildlife, which is so important because there's no way they could ever afford to get that amount of data in. So we do exactly the same, but on beaches and for litter. So Beach Watch has been running since 1994, and basically it just involves our fantastic volunteers adopting a 100-metre stretch of beach, and as well as removing all the rubbish from it. You'll see in this photo here a survey form. We get them to then count and record all the individual items that they find and how many of them. So how many crisp packets, bottles, cotton buds. We've got lists of everything, of all the normal stuff that you might find on one of these beach cleans. And then once they've come back from the beach, they upload that all to the website so our data and our policy experts can start number crunching. Now our volunteers can go out at any time of year, but if they can only go out at one time of year, we ask them to go out during the Great British Beach Clean. So this falls in September every year, so hopefully all being safe and well, we might be able to have some of you out in September, but if not, as soon as it's safe to do so, we'll be able to let you know when we can head out to our beaches and help collect this important data. But this photo here is a photo of me with my fiance and my parents back up at Findhorn last year taking part in the Great British Beach Clean. Now the reason we do it in September is because it coincides with the International Coastal Cleanup. So this is where actually over 70 countries around the world are out there beach cleaning and recording this data. So the data you collect won't just be helping your local beach, your local area, your country, it will actually be helping paint a global picture about what's happening to beach litter around the world, and nothing else, no other organisation could afford to get that data in. So it's all thanks to citizen science volunteers just like you for collecting this all in. So I'll show you some of the data. So this one that's come up just now is an example of what a data set looks like from one beach clean. So this is from Cramond Beach in Edinburgh, which my manager Callum has actually been surveying for 20 years now. So we've got a fantastic data set from Cramond, and that's actually being used by both the Scottish and the UK government and by the EU to be monitoring litter. And then when we do it in September, it feeds into that big global database as well. Now for individual volunteers to be able to look at this data, it can really inspire some amazing grassroots campaigning because they can see what type of items are turning up on their beaches and see if they can actually attribute that to a source. Can they work back and then actually stop it getting there in the first place, which is absolutely fantastic. Then if you look at this next picture, we work with local authorities. We share our data with as many people as possible that can then actually use this to change policy, so to change the rules, to change the laws, so it actually stops litter getting into the marine environment in the first place. So this is a map of the Firth of Forth, and this is where you can see all the beaches that have been adopted. And then that just shows you some of the stats from the Great British Beach Clean around Edinburgh last year. So an amazing 9 surveys were carried out by nearly 400 volunteers, but they collected over 11,000 items. Now what's really useful is when we send this to the local council, they can actually have a look and see what the breakdown is and see if there's anything that they can do as a local government to actually change any practice. So we've had local governments ban balloon releases, which is fantastic, on local council land, which is really helpful, as well as help with education and awareness raising. And obviously so many council workers help us by supplying litter pickers and picking up the rubbish afterwards as well. So the data can be really useful at that local government level. And then the next level is obviously working with the Scottish Government and with the UK Government. So this is where our role really comes in, and we look at the numbers and we look at what's happening over time. And this is what influences our campaigns and our policy asks. We are an evidence-based organisation, so we couldn't do anything on marine litter without you all collecting this amazing data. So if you look here, here's some of the infographics from our latest Great British Beach Clean report. And you'll see that actually on the map, it's all looking really good. Litter's gone down. But if you then look over as to how much on average we're finding per 100 metres, in Scotland we're nearly at 500 items per 100 metres of beach surveyed, which is a crazy amount. So we know that we still have a lot to do and we need to use this data to get that changed. But your ocean optimism moment is if you look down at the bottom, you'll see that nearly 3,000 volunteers turned out on Scottish beaches in just 4 days in September to help collect this. So it's amazing to see how many people are wanting to take part and wanting to help. This next set of infographics then shows you the breakdown, so we can start to work out particular campaigns. Are items going up the top 10? Are they going down? Who is actually that coming from? Do we need to run a public campaign, work with industry, work with government? This data is crucial to how we then work and how we then stop these items getting onto the beach in the first place. So let's talk about some success stories. So one of the most famous success stories from our Beachwatch data has been the 5p carrier bag charge. So we used our data along with others to campaign for the charge to come in place. And then since that charge has been in place, we can then actually show the difference that policy has made. So you'll see here from an infographic we put together for the International Marine Conference last year in Glasgow that we've seen nearly a drop of 50% of bags on beaches. And actually the most latest results show that it's almost 58% less. So this is so powerful. So we can go to government and say, look, well done, this is working. Now here's what we want you to do next. So the next thing we then did was actually partnered up with a charity called the Association for the Protection of Rural Scotland to help found their Have You Got the Bottle campaign, which was calling for a deposit return system for bottles and cans to be introduced, well, reintroduced in Scotland. Some of you might remember when we actually did have a deposit system. So this is basically when you buy a bottle or a can, you would then pay a 20p deposit. When you recycle it, you'll get that money back. And I'm delighted to say, after years of campaigning, using our data to call for it, we have now heard from the Scottish Government that it should be introduced in 2022, which is another huge success for our citizen science volunteers collecting and recording all those bottles, all those cans and all those glass. Absolutely brilliant. Now, I'm not quite sure what time you're watching this, but hopefully you're not having your dinner, as I'm going to spend a couple of minutes talking about sewage-related debris. Sadly, a lot of people don't realise what we flush down the toilet can still end up on our beaches and in our seas. So something everyone can be doing from home right now is only flushing the 3 Ps down the toilet. Pee, poo and paper, that is it. Everything else goes in the bin. Because you'll see on these 2 pictures here, these are some of the items that people have been flushing and that have been turning up on our beaches. So the picture on the left is of our cotton bud stems. Now here's another brilliant success story. We partnered up with FIDRA, the charity who also work on nurdles, for their cotton bud project. So then they were actually asking for all of our data to then campaign for them just to be banned. They don't need to be made of plastic, they can be made of cardboard or paper instead. So they used our data and all the research they had done and the work with industry, and as of October last year, it is now illegal to sell or make plastic stemmed cotton buds in Scotland. Another huge success story. The picture on the right, however, this is what wet wipes look like once they've been through the system. Ugh. So we've run a campaign called Wet Wipes Turn Nasty, and this was all about trying to get the plastic out of wet wipes. So if people were flushing them when they weren't supposed to, at least there wasn't plastic going into the sea. but we know that they're still causing huge blockages, and when there's a blockage, that means everything else that's been flushed could still be in danger of going straight out to sea. Now, there has been some progress on us working with manufacturers and working with the water industry as well to actually come up with a test, because we know there are flushable wet wipes on the market. So if you look at this logo here, the Fine to Flush logo, if you do use flushable wet wipes, look for this logo, and this means that these will be fine to flush because they've passed a really rigorous test. They don't contain plastic and they break down like toilet paper as well. So who would have thought you can even save the sea from your bathroom? Now, just to wrap up, here are just maybe a few projects that you might be interested in looking up while you're at home. And the first one here is the Scrapbook project. So this has been a fantastic project where volunteer pilots have actually taken aerial photos of the entire mainland coast of Scotland looking for marine litter. So you'll see the map there that there's different kind of categories of how bad the beach is from that photo. So you could go onto the map, the website's there, scrapbook-scotland.org.uk, and you can have a look and maybe see what's near you, or maybe see where there's some really bad beaches. So when it's safe to do so and we're allowed to head out, you could maybe start planning some beach cleaning yourselves and see if we can actually start clearing. So the next time we get some of these photos in the future, we'll be seeing clean beaches instead of some of the horrible dirty beaches that our pilots actually photographed. And if you are lucky enough to actually be living at the coast, if you are spotting any wildlife, especially jellyfish, basking sharks or turtles, please head to our website and report your wildlife sightings. So the map here actually shows all of the sightings that have ever been recorded by our volunteer citizen scientists. So even if you don't live next to the coast, what I sometimes do is just have a look at the map and see if there have been any photos uploaded. And to be honest, it always gets people talking about jellyfish. Everyone's got a jellyfish story. Again, linking back to that ocean optimism, telling a good jellyfish story could be the thing that connects someone back to the sea. And the very last thing that you might want to give a go is our plastic challenge, which is coming up in July. So what we try and do every year is encourage people to sign up and challenge themselves to reduce the amount of single-use plastic that they're using. Now, this might be a really different July compared to previous years, but we've seen so many people actually changing habits, changing what they're buying already, and we're still able to do that just now. So see if you can challenge yourselves. Is there just one item that you could maybe switch to something that's not single-use plastic to then take part in the challenge, as all these little steps really do make a massive difference. So from all the way back to that wee totty girl in her red wellies on the Isle of Arran to working now 5 years as the Scotland Conservation Officer for MCS, I'm absolutely delighted to have joined the RSGS as an honorary fellow. So thank you so much all for listening. All of that ocean optimism has led to me travelling all over Scotland, all over the UK, as you can see the map here, and even beyond. And I'm very excited to see where the next 5 years will take us all, and I hope that you will join us and be part of that journey. So definitely please get in touch. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, my email address is on the slide here. Get in touch on Twitter as well. Tag MCS in all your ocean optimism stories or any actions you're taking from home to stop the plastic tide. But keep safe and well, everyone, and we'll see you all on the beach soon.